Mistimed the countdown, but I'm glad to see y'all. Thanks for coming here, Carly. Great coverage, great stories, lots of fun. And you know what? Right now, I got to do some bragging on myself here, because this is where we're at in J24 Fleet 43's spring series for this year. There we go. I don't know if you can see all of the stuff that's there. But Mr. Hankey, my team, we've had a first. I was on board for those three on the 29th. I wasn't there because I had the COVID, but back on the 12th I was, and we had a first, and then just last night we finished third, and we were third out of 11 boats competing, and the rest of the fleet didn't finish the race. It was a very, very weak performance. Anyway, that's what I'm not here to just brag on myself and talk about sailing. I'm here to talk about. I'm more here to to speak to other things, more important things, kind of more talking about the practical consequences of the theoretical debate bro kind of BS that Amber was covering. These sorts of debates, these sorts of discussions are non-academic for real people in the real world. It's not ideologies we're talking about here. Uh, and it's certainly not the ideology of transness. Transness, being a trans person is a state of being as a human being. It's a different way that people live their lives. And when society produces disopprobrium, it makes our lives very, very difficult. And Carly mentioned this in her piece. The case of a Florida family, mom, dad, and their daughter, uh, where the law of the state of Florida has made it impossible for a child to live her life. So I'm gonna just sort of go over here and read this story that came out. This is an Associated. It was covered in the Associated Press. This is in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mom of transgender girl athlete says Florida's investigation has destroyed her daughter's life. I'm hoping that headline doesn't follow through. It certainly put their family in the spotlight through no fault of their own, but through the fault of people like Ray's pushing to make sure that people like me and people like this child and families like this can't live. So let's get right into it. This story was uh, Terry Spencer of the AP uh, published this story on the 18th of June. Of, pardon me, excuse me. A Florida public school employee who faces firing. So this is not just affecting this family, it's affecting the school. A Florida public school employee who faces firing because she allowed her transgender daughter to play girls' high school volleyball assailed those who outed her child, saying Tuesday that the ensuing investigation destroyed the girl's life. Jessica Norton said her daughter was thriving at Monarch High School in suburban Fort Lauderdale before an anonymous tipster notified a Broward County school board member in November of last year that the 16-year-old was playing on the girls' varsity volleyball team in apparent violation of state law, the 2021 Fairness in Women's Sport Act. Bars students who were born male from participating in girls' sports. That November tip launched a school district investigation that has led to Norton facing the possible loss of her job as a computer information specialist at Monarch because she allowed her daughter to play. Investigators said she didn't, as part of her job, change the child's gender on school records back to male from female as required by district policy. Norton told the school board Tuesday that her daughter had been elected freshman and sophomore class president, was selected as the student body's director of philanthropy, and was a homecoming princess. That all ended when the investigation began and the girl left Monarch. And this is the quote that Carly read. They destroyed her high school career and her lifelong memories. Norton said, I saw the light in my daughter's eyes gleam with the future plans of organizing and attending prom. Participating in and leading senior class traditions, speaking at graduation, and going off to college with the confidence and joy that any student like her would have after a successful and encouraging high school experience. And 203 days ago, I watched as that life was extinguished. The girl now attends school online. None of the nine members responded to Norton, a 7-year district employee who received stellar evaluations before November. Treatment of transgender children has been a hot button issue across the country over the last few years. Florida is among at least 25 states that adopted bans on gender affirming care for minors, and one of at least 24 states. This is half the states in the United States of America that's adopted a law banning transgender women and girls from certain women's and girls' sports. The board had been scheduled to vote Tuesday, that's this past Tuesday, on Superintendent Howard Hepburn's recommendation that Norton be fired, but that decision has been delayed at least a month. A district committee recommended that Norton receive a 10-day suspension, but Hepburn overrode it. He did not say why. I'll say why, because he's a fucking transphobe. That's why. The board could fire Norton, suspend her, or do nothing. Already kind of screwed the kid over, but Monarch principal James Cecil and 3 other administrators were temporarily reassigned when the investigation began because these people were compassionate human beings who never knew the child as anything but the girl child she was, as we'll see later in the article, but were reinstated after student protests. The State Athletic Commission fined the school $16,500. This is the cost of simply living as a transgender person in Florida, as a transgender child in Florida, as the parents of a transgender child in Florida, as the principals and teachers of transgender children in Florida. These are the consequences of people making Florida what it is, a place that's not safe for transgender people. Broward is one of Florida's most politically liberal counties. This has nothing to do with liberalism and conservatism, in my view. Human dignity is not a liberal or conservative ideal. It's a humanist versus fundamentalist contest we're talking about here, and the fact that religious bigotry, religious inspired bigotry, happens to align so very, very well with conservative politics is an accident of history in some respects. Religion is a wonderful way, of convincing people to fear other people. Religion's a wonderful tool for people who choose to use it to gain political clout, and that's what conservatives have done expertly. That's what organizations like Atheists for Liberty are all about. We don't believe in God, but we sure don't like the or the or the Mind you, they're probably not as effective at getting people to the polls as a Southern Baptist convention, but I digress. Broward is one of Florida's most politically liberal counties, with twice as many Democrats as Republicans, and has a large LGBTQ plus community. Broward is Fort Lauderdale, the area around Fort Lauderdale. The countywide school district is the nation's fifth largest. So we're not talking penny ante here. The fifth largest school district in the nation has gone after this child. According to the district's investigative report, board member Daniel Fogenholy, okay, uh, contact co- board member, oh, Dan. Oh my goodness, Mr. Fogenholy. This asshole contacted the district's police department after he received the tip. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, sanctimonious. I'll agree with Donald Trump. He is fucking sanctimonious asshole. Not that fucking Trump isn't, but appointed Fogenholy last year after the elected board member was found ineligible to serve. So, person won an election, was found ineligible to serve, and in waltzes Mr. Elevated White Boots DeSantis to appoint some other kook to do the deed and call the cops on this kid. They pulled this public school records for Norton's daughter and locked them in a vault. They interviewed officials at Monarch and at the girl's middle and elementary school, seeking to find out who knew the girl was transgender and when and how her records were changed. They also interviewed Norton and three Monarch volleyball players. Norton, who has two older children, told them she enrolled her youngest child in kindergarten as a boy in 2013, 4 years before she began working for the district. I think I skipped over there. The child transitioned to a girl in first grade. So in 2014, in first grade, her whole elementary school career, her whole education, she's been treated as a girl by school administrators, by her friends, by the people she associated with. This is a child. This is a child who is gonna be a homecoming queen, who led her class in high school. This as a girl, who her who her friends and teachers all knew she was a girl her whole life until the trans investigators found out that because an OBGYN marked an M on her birth certificate, by their definition, that makes her a boy. This is the practical implication of the bullshit these folks are spreading. They never want to talk about it. They never want to talk about the individuals affected. They only want to talk about notional bullshit. When the 0.2% of the world's population are actually real people and they don't give a fuck. They don't care. In fact, they more than don't care. They want to see this child erased. They want to tell this child she's not who she is. This child knows who she is. This child has been accepted for who she is her entire life. And she's been nurtured and supported by a family who loves their child. And these people hate that child and hate that family and have passed laws in half of the United States of America to make sure that children like this, that families like this are despised. So when you hear debate bros, and you all know who they are, pine nuts, that I don't know, Jim Bob, uh, it, the, I when you hear these people, they're not talking, they don't care about us. In fact, they hate us. Pine Nuts actually asked me one time, "Do you think I'm hurting transgender people?" And I said, "God damn it, yes, you are." And yes, they are. And they need to know that they are. They are hurting us because they are voting these policies into place that are hurting real people. They don't get off that easy. You can discuss you can discuss epistemology all you want with these guys, but you're not going to break through their hatred. You're not. She said when her child Norton, who was through all her children, she enrolled her youngest child as a boy, 4 years, child transitioned in first grade. She said other parents and children knew, so it had never been a complete secret. She said when her child was in second grade, she asked the school employee to change the child's gender on her school records. She said then Superintendent Robert Runcie told her that was the procedure. Runcie left the district in 2021 after an unrelated controversy and was not contacted for the article, I assume. But the district says such changes are only allowed if the parents first gets the child's birth certificate amended. The birth certificate wasn't amended until 2021 after Norton started working with the district. Of course, you can't do that in Florida any longer because that's also a part of this program. Once somebody says you're male, once somebody says you're female, that's it. Some human being takes a look between your legs and says, "Oh, that looks like a dick. Oh, that looks like a vulva. It looks like a dick and balls. That looks like a vulva." And there you go. There you are. The district says after learning about its policy, Norton should have requested in 2017 that her child's gender, she should have requested that her child's gender be changed back to male on her records. She should request the child's gender be recorded officially as something it was not. Norton told investigators that she didn't because the amended records are accurate. Her child is a girl. Norton knew the state law banned transgender girls from playing school girls sports when her daughter entered high school in 2022. The detectives asked her why. The detectives, these are the cops coming to this family. You're under arrest. Why? Because you're transgressing the gender laws. The detectives asked why she then let her daughter play volleyball and why she marked female on a permission form that asked for the child's sex at birth. Because she's my child. Because she's my child. And she wanted to play. Norton told them. Norton coached the junior varsity volleyball team. When investigators interviewed the Monarch volleyball players, they said the team did not change clothes or shower together, so they were never disrobed with Norton's daughter. All three said they knew or suspected Norton's daughter was transgender, but it didn't bother them that she was on the team. The Knights went 13-7 last season. That was a good season for the Knights. I didn't really have a problem with it because I didn't think she was a threat or anything to anyone else, one girl said and told investigators. And that's the story from a couple of days ago from Terry Spencer of the Associated Press. I'm sure there'll be more on this, but I want to say a couple of things about about the situation. First of all, what we're looking at here is a supportive family. It's a supportive principal, supportive teachers, supportive coaches, supportive competitors, supportive teammates. Allowing a girl who's been known as a girl since first grade in her school system to have a life. And these laws are aimed at depriving children like her from having a life. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not about biology. It's not about essential. It's not about any of that. It's about that bigotry. And I don't care whether the bigotry comes from religious belief or like some atheists would say would have it that because of biological essentialism. I don't care whether it descends from the writings of Richard Dawkins or the writings of whoever fucking wrote Genesis. I don't care. I care that those bigotries are being enshrined in law, and they're being enshrined in law by people who harbor them and who cloak their bigotry either behind God's skirts or behind pseudoscience's skirts. I care about the harm done to real people in real time, and I hope you do too. And I know the children in this school who are supportive of this child are speaking out. And that's what allyship is. That's like People saying this is bullshit, that's what's required. You know, I this is what allyship is. This is what what being supportive for a person is. But view it as being supportive of a person, not a cause, because people aren't causes. People are people. And if you're gonna love them, and if you're gonna support them, you gotta do something. For the transpositions, I'm Stephanie Helms.